In this video we are going to talk about penthouses. Naturally, we'll be discussing penthouses in buildings that are at least of the comfort class or higher. I'll explain why a bit later. We'll talk about the pros and cons. We'll discuss various important points for you. Let's get started. A penthouse is a status symbol, and naturally people who want to buy a penthouse want to buy it in a decent building. That's exactly why I won't be telling you about buildings below the comfort class. And these people have a particular trait. They are willing to pay extra. And this trait is a pleasant one for you, right? Because indeed, for good things that they can later enjoy or that will somehow emphasize their status, they are willing to pay extra. And for you, this is naturally an opportunity to earn money. But again, not everyone will be able to make money from this. Only those who choose a great location and a great complex that meets people's expectations will be able to earn money. In this video, I will be talking to you about penthouses. In between talking about penthouses, I will also be giving you valuable insights that will help increase your safety and allow you to make especially profitable purchases. I will, of course, try to cover this topic from different angles because penthouses, in essence, are a unique product. There isn't a mass buyer for them. And this is especially advantageous for you as well, because some of them are undervalued, and you can actually make good money on them. Or you could buy yourself a great property to live in, or for some short-term stay, depending on your goals. Or maybe you just want to preserve your money. This is also a great asset if you choose and use it correctly. And as usual, I will only be telling you about the advantages of these projects, because if I start talking about the drawbacks, I might accidentally harm someone's business reputation. So if you're interested in a more detailed and in-depth discussion of the projects, you can follow the link in the description. There are links to WhatsApp and Telegram. You can write to me and we can have a more detailed and open conversation on various topics. I'll answer your questions and share a lot of interesting information with you. Also, this video will turn out to be quite long, and I decided not to include all the prices for the offers I'll be telling you about here. You can also go to the description of this video. There's a link there, and I've uploaded the price lists for the projects and offers that will be mentioned in this video for you. So you'll be able to view everything in one convenient format and of course study it. Let's start with penthouses in comfort class buildings. As a rule, they are lower in price. If someone has a limited budget, of course, this can also be considered as an option. But it's not the best choice. Because the better the residential complex, the more status it represents, the more reasonable it is naturally to buy a penthouse there. So the first residential complex we'll look at is El Kvartal. Here you can see about 7 buildings. Some are already built, others are still under construction. The first thing that catches your eye is that the courtyard is always packed with cars. Right now, the situation you see in this picture isn't the worst, but believe me, it can get much worse. It's just impossible to get through here. You can see a variety of cafes and small shops. That is definitely a plus. But there's no other infrastructure here. So there's no good gym, spa, swimming pools, or other entertainment, for example, for children or anything else. Here's the pool. Well, draw your own conclusions. So penthouses of this type are located here in different blocks, all on the first line with a sea view. This is what it all looks like. Of course, the main attraction is without a doubt the first line. There is a downside. Quite often you can smell the sewage treatment facilities from Batumi, which are located behind the airport, right next to the runway. So it's not just this complex that suffers from this, the entire new Batumi district is affected. In the file below, I've compiled the 9 most popular projects for you. I've analyzed their pros and cons there. You can also check it out via the link and read it. I think that for anyone currently choosing real estate in Batumi, this will be extremely interesting and useful. And the first important piece of advice I would like to give regarding buying a penthouse is buy something prestigious, because a penthouse is all about status. Study the building. It should, of course, have good infrastructure, and most importantly, it should be popular among a solvent audience. Why? Because only then will you be able to get that added value you're looking for. Think back to when you bought something expensive and cool. I don't know, for some people it might be an apartment, for others a car. You wanted to, right? You wanted to share it with acquaintances, with friends, to show it off somehow, to make it clear that you already own this item. So people with money who might spend $300,000, maybe $500,000 to buy from you after you've already bought it, to buy this penthouse from you, they want to see something extraordinary, right? And the more extraordinary it is, the more status it has, the more interest it generates, the higher the price of this product will be. If you are buying this thing, you absolutely must take this into account, because if you don't, you'll most likely buy it and then end up selling it at a loss. And the next project we have is Batumi View. You can see that this property is already located right on the waterfront. In other words, you don't need to cross the road. These are the kinds of entrance areas it has. So you have, of course, all sorts of cafes, a few small shops, and a beautiful park nearby. One of the advantages is that you can walk out of the building and immediately find yourself in the park, which is definitely a plus. Or you can go straight to the promenade, take a walk, and so on. These are the kind of penthouses they have here. They're corner units with rather large balconies. There are plenty of cafes, shops, hair salons, and so on. Everything you need. But there's no fitness center, spa, or similar infrastructure here. And of course, I've saved something unique for you. There are four penthouses that didn't make it in, or rather 4 residential complexes with excellent penthouses that weren't included in this selection. Everyone who follows the link in the description and writes to me will get them. They have excellent infrastructure, and the developers there truly have proven experience and know how to build this kind of product. These developers have a proven track record of delivering valuable products. In other words, they already have projects where these properties are expensive, so it's as safe, prestigious, and liquid as possible. Yes, so specifically for those who want something unusual, something exclusive, something that will become very expensive in the future, I have saved this information for those who reach out to me. I will be happy to share it with you. Write to me. And the next project we have is Steps. This is another comfort class project located next to the black unfinished building. Here you already need to cross the road. Here you can see the entrance area, it's done in a concrete style. That's what I call this finish, because personally I don't really understand why I make these concrete walls, but maybe some people like it. Definitely not me though. There's a cafe on the first floor here. Accordingly, there's what they call a botanical garden. This is what the elevator area looks like here. There's a children's play area, and there's a fitness center as well. Well, basically, draw your own conclusions. In Batumi, there's a problem. Many developers either don't build any infrastructure at all, or they just do it for show. For example, let me show you. Here the developer promised, right here, as you can see, there will be a pool, and this is the fitness room. Yes, well, technically you could call it a fitness center, but it's unlikely that anyone would actually want to come here every day, especially a more discerning client. Over there, the developer promised a botanical garden, and this is how it looks now and how it actually turned out. So this is a real issue, and it's something you definitely need to take into account. So when you choose a developer and a project, you need to understand whether they are actually capable of delivering on what they promise. Because for you, infrastructure just for the sake of checking a box is completely meaningless. Yes, meaning it makes no difference whether it's there or not. In fact, sometimes it might even be better if it wasn't there at all, rather than having it done the way it usually is, so to speak. If you're interested in understanding this, take a look at this video. Here I show in detail an example of how it should be done so that it can be rented out at a high price. And by the way, such projects are occupied year-round. If anyone believes that Batumi is only seasonal, forget about that. Great projects here are filled all year round and at very good rates. This is even more important than the occupancy rate itself. Another comfort class project that might interest you is Porto Batumi. It is located in the most interesting part of the city. There's a beautiful park nearby. You can see the Ferris wheel, the Alphabet Tower, and so on. The project also does not have any extensive infrastructure. Weak sound insulation, as is typical for all comfort class properties, and other drawbacks are present here as well. So you might also want to consider this one. Another project in the comfort segment that offers penthouses is the Calligraphy project. A lot was promised here, including infrastructure. All this splendor has been under construction for quite a long time, about 8 years. They finally finished the first block, and now it seems they should finish the second and third block soon. As you can see in the video, they're still under construction. They'll build the infrastructure, and what kind of infrastructure they end up making we'll have to wait and see, right? Because for now, well, everything is taking quite a long time to build and there is no final result yet. But as a residential project, if you're considering penthouses for yourself, you might want to take a look. If you like this building on the Alley of Heroes, it could very well be an option for you. I think comfort as a choice for penthouses is more suitable for people with a limited budget, since they're still a bit more affordable than, for example, business or premium class projects. But of course, the profit you'll get if you're looking to earn something will also be significantly less. In some cases, you might even end up with a loss, yes. Because again, it all depends on the purchasing power of the audience who will be renting or later buying these properties from you. These things are directly connected. We finished discussing comfort class projects, and now we're moving on to business class projects. So business class projects differ from comfort class ones in that they have infrastructure, and the better this infrastructure is, the better it is for you naturally. As I mentioned in the previous part, infrastructure that's just there for show is absolutely useless to you. That's why you should choose developers who already have proven experience. That is, you can come and see what they have built specifically for people, how much it costs, and for how much it is rented out. And this is very important for you, because business no longer starts with square meters. Business class means a clear and obvious presence of good infrastructure. And most importantly, this infrastructure should be appealing to a solvent audience. So what does this mean? A person opens a search, sees a picture of this infrastructure and says, I want this. It's specifically the person with money who says, I want this, not the person without money. And that's also very important. If this infrastructure attracts a solvent audience, if they like it, then with a high degree of probability, everything will be okay. If you want to protect yourself as much as possible, so you don't have to wait 8 or 9 years for the project to be built, as major developers often do, by the way, right? And unfortunately, this is a very common story in Batumi, but most developers complete a project in about 5 to 6 years on average, right? And there are only a few, just a handful of exclusive developers who really deserve credit, who build a project in 2 or 2.5 years. Well, if we're talking about investments, this is extremely important. If we're talking about projects just for living, I think that's important too, because, well, nobody wants to wait 9 years for their property. So if you're choosing a developer, be sure to look at their previous projects and how long they took to build. But there's a very important point here. Look at the construction timeline starting from the launch of sales. Why? Because as a rule, from the start of sales to actual construction, it usually takes 1, 2, and in rare cases, even 3 years. What does that mean? You paid your money at the start, but what does that mean? The first pile was poured only 3 years later, right? Or, well, how should I put it? It's actually a sad story. And I strongly recommend that you pay close attention to this parameter, because there are developers, for example, who sell to you, then you wait 2 years while they get the permits and even start building at all. Then they spend another 3 or 4 years building something, then more time finishing, and then who knows how much longer completing the infrastructure. And this is important. This is extremely important, because you might see beautiful projects even on the first line. But always ask yourself, how long did it actually take them to build? This is very important. And as a rule, strangely enough, this is later connected to the final quality of everything. Yes, the entire project. That is, all developers who take 8 or 9 years to build, believe me, the finishing work is usually very poor, as is the soundproofing and other aspects that are actually important for good high-end projects. So pay attention to this, keep an eye on it. A project that is supposed to be business class is Next Collection, because here they promise infrastructure. This is what it will look like when it's finished. Well, frankly, in this market, everyone makes promises. As for Next, I haven't seen any wow factor infrastructure in any of their projects so far. This is what the apartment finishes are supposed to look like according to their promises. This is the penthouse layout. In fact, this is a project you can consider. It's close to the botanical garden. And the location, of course, is good. I hope that someday they'll remove the railway and restrict car traffic as well, because right now there is background noise from the road. If those things are gone, of course, it will be much more pleasant here. The next important fact for you, which will also help you make up your mind and organize everything in your head, is that real estate is divided into different segments. What does that mean? That is, for some reason, many people have everything mixed up in their heads. A square meter is just a square meter. Real estate is just real estate. But it is divided into segments, and it is segmented because each segment has its own target audience. In fact, there are people who want to save money, and for them, real estate here on average, with finishing costs from $1,000 to $1,600, there are people who want to save money, but at the same time want to have a minimum level of comfort. This is comfort class real estate, which on average costs from $1,600 to $2,500, depending on the location and so on. There is business class real estate, which mainly costs from $2,500 to $3,500, and its key feature is the presence of infrastructure. Yes, this is what distinguishes business class from comfort class. And of course, there is also premium class real estate. Premium class means that this real estate is not just available, not just with infrastructure, but it has something that amazes you. Its price starts from essentially $3,500. And there are examples where they build for $8,000 or even $9,000 per square meter and so on. What is the main feature here? This type of real estate attracts people who are ready to pay a lot. In other words, saving money is not his top priority. He's willing to buy at a high price. But he is willing to pay a lot for something that is truly valuable to him, for something that impresses him. So if a developer can deliver such projects, it's really great for you. But not everyone can believe in it. In the next collection, which is located on the Alley of Heroes, there are also penthouses. This is what it all looks like today in this condition. Construction is still ongoing here, and in my opinion, there are probably 35 to 40 floors, so it's quite a lot. They promise entrance lobbies like these accordingly. Well, the sea is nearby. This is the Alley of Heroes, it's close by. I think you know this street very well. They also promise all the infrastructure, fitness centers, spas, swimming pools, cafes, restaurants, and so on. Basically, if you believe in the promises and that the project will turn out just like in the pictures, then you can confidently go for such a project. But what happens if the developer set out to build a premium property, but ended up building something at the comfort level? Well, it's very simple. You'll lose money. Forgive me for saying this with a smile, but to some extent it has become very easy for me to look at this, because I understand that most people simply don't want to pay attention to this parameter at all. The thing is, there have already been cases when there was only economy class on the market here, developers promised to build business class, but in the end barely managed to deliver comfort class, and construction dragged on for 8 or 9 years. You can watch my other videos where I talk about this in more detail. Unfortunately, the same thing will happen with premium class. So the problem is that if you don't look at the developer's expertise, whether they are capable of delivering such a project, whether they have examples, then unfortunately you will end up in these kinds of situations. And the question is, do I feel sorry for the people who end up in these situations? Probably yes, I do feel sorry for them. But when I talk to these people, many of them stubbornly deny this fact. They believe more in the pictures they're shown, more in the fairy tales they're told, rather than in the harsh, truthful reality. Why? Because, well, reality is harsh and people don't want to believe in it. The pictures are here and now, they're beautiful. Right now I'll invest and everything will be okay. It won't. It won't if the developer doesn't have the expertise, if they haven't built anything similar for people in these specific locations. You should always judge based on what they have already built. So if they previously built comfort class projects, then you should evaluate both the price and the potential of the new project according to the same quality and level that they have already delivered. There's no other way. Wyndham by Nexta. Here, they're already promising you a brand. As of today, there isn't a single brand in Batumi that's being built by a local developer and that actually delivers great returns overall. In other words, everything is still under construction, still in progress. These are the kinds of finishes they're promising you. Naturally, a branded project will have all the infrastructure. When the brand comes in and what kind of returns there will be here, we'll have to wait and see. But overall, it's good that the first branded projects are starting to appear, where you can buy real estate. Another big trap for many people is that they think they're buying into a branded project. In this video, I've gone into detail about all the questions related to brands, everything connected to branded projects right here. So, in 80% of cases, it's a scam. They're simply selling you an ordinary apartment without any infrastructure disguised as a branded property, right? I mean, it's clear that there's no brand mentioned in the contract, but many people want to believe in their expectations so much that they'll get a brand for cheap that they just go ahead and buy it. And sometimes, by the way, they end up selling non-branded real estate at a high price. There are also a lot of nuances when it comes to branded real estate, and this isn't just a Georgian thing. It's a system that exists all over the world, right? That is, developers often create both branded and non-branded units in the same building, and they try to pass off the non-branded ones as branded. So there are a lot of nuances. It's a big topic, so watch the video. I think you'll find it interesting and it will be very useful so that you don't lose money. Le Méridien is a project that I would call a kind of business class. Why? Because there is a tower and there is a Le Méridien hotel nearby, right? All of this is combined into one group, but naturally all the infrastructure is paid for you. That is, you can't provide it to your tenant for free. Accordingly, you can't raise the rental price either, but it's not like there's a lot to buy here anyway. There are just a few penthouses here, really just a handful. And it's unlikely that you'll buy this for the sake of profitability. Rather, it's just a kind of status thing for you. Although maybe you see it differently. This is the kind of infrastructure Le Méridien has. Pools, for example. I have to say the infrastructure is good. I wouldn't say it's exactly wow, but it's a decent level that definitely, at the very least, won't scare off a wealthy person who would be willing to pay them $200 or even $300 a day, which Le Méridien does perfectly well all the time. Separately, I wanted to talk to you about the fact that developers build a completely different quality for people than they do for themselves. Unfortunately, I can't just point my finger and say, look here, look there. But again, for those we meet in person, I will show the difference and give examples of when a developer builds something for themselves, something they will manage themselves, where they will earn money. In those cases, they build well, with interesting features because they understand that if they do a poor job, they simply won't be able to make good money from renting it out later. But when they're building for other people, all of that gets watered down, yes. And in fact, if you want to buy a penthouse especially, you need to take this point into account. Because for a penthouse, all of this is particularly important, all the aspects related to infrastructure and other factors. And the quality of all this and the prestige of it play a very, very significant role. Basically, the rental price will depend on this. Will it have great occupancy and you'll be getting $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, or maybe even more? Or will it sit empty, and if you're lucky, you'll get maybe $1,000 for your penthouse, which actually costs quite a lot? Hilton, and what they might sell you under the guise of Hilton. The building on the left is Hilton, on the right is Bellevue. This is a hotel, just a regular hotel. Here you can see the entrance areas, what they look like, and the kind of penthouses they have. There is also no private infrastructure here. You can use Hilton's infrastructure for an additional fee, but usually tenants do not pay extra for the infrastructure. Therefore, accordingly, the price here is significantly lower, since you cannot provide a full range of services. If we talk about premium class residential complexes on this market, in my opinion, there are only 2 of them. Yes, that's right, so few, just 2. And of course, I share these offers definitely with anyone who writes to me. But I want to emphasize an important point for you. Not everything that glitters is gold. As I mentioned earlier, don't pay attention to the pictures or the promises, because they can be so sweet, so well thought out in detail, and disguised with facts that in reality have nothing to do with the developer. And you might get the false impression that yes, these people really can deliver top quality construction. In reality, they don't even have the intention. Here. Quality doesn't just mean the quality of the finishing or materials themselves, but the overall concept, the general impression that the end consumer of this product will get. That is the solvent client. The kind of client who currently stays at the Hilton, Marriott, Sheraton, basically someone who pays more than $200 a day if we're talking about a studio. Of course, if we're talking about these projects with 2+1, 3+1 or penthouses, a person can easily pay $500, $600, even $800 per day. Really, it's no problem. So naturally, the requirements there are appropriate. As you can imagine, it's an artificial island. The construction is, of course, grandiose with a huge number of buildings. They also promise extensive infrastructure, even an airstrip for small aircraft. Here you'll have something similar to the Palm in Dubai. The scale, of course, is grand. A significant amount of land has already been reclaimed. You can study this project in more detail and on your own. So what will you end up with? I'll just say that the developer has experience building their own projects, and some of them are actually quite interesting. That's it. But it's up to you, of course, to draw conclusions about what the developer will build for you. You can take a look at this type of finishing accordingly. The price tag, well, I would say matches the business class segment. Of course, I don't provide any final prices or other price growth forecasts in my videos. If anyone is interested, you can write to me personally. Wrapping up this video, I want to say that 4 top options are waiting for those who message me via the link in the description. You can use WhatsApp or Telegram, whichever is more convenient for you. We'll have a chat together. I'll be glad to get to know you and show you something truly unique, cool, and interesting. See you next time.